March 1984. Your mother is standing at the kitchen counter pouring her second cup of coffee. Next to the sugar bowl sits a small white bottle with a bright yellow label, Dexatrim. She takes one with her coffee, the same way she did yesterday, the same way she will tomorrow. Nobody questions it. Nobody reads the warning label, because there barely is one. In the 1980s, nearly every bathroom cabinet in America had at least one bottle of diet pills tucked behind the aspirin. They were sold at every drugstore, advertised during daytime television, and handed out by doctors who should have known better. Number 12 on this list had people crushing the capsules and snorting the powder within weeks of their first prescription, until the DEA pulled it off pharmacy shelves for good. And number 1 worked by raising your body temperature so high, there was no way to bring it back down. So hit subscribe, because here are 25 weight loss products from the 1980s that are completely illegal today. Number 25. Starch blockers. In the spring of 1982, a new kind of pill appeared on health food store shelves all across the country. The idea was simple. You took a capsule with your meal, and it would block your body from absorbing the starch in bread, pasta, and potatoes. The active ingredient came from white kidney beans, and within months, over 100 different brands were fighting for shelf space. At their peak, Americans were buying them at a pace of 10 million tablets a week. The problem was, they did not work. Independent testing showed the pills blocked almost none of the starch they promised to neutralize. By July 1982, the FDA stepped in and declared every last one of them an unapproved drug. The bottles were pulled from shelves, and selling them became a federal offense overnight. The whole craze lasted barely 6 months. Nobody got thin from it, and today those original starch blocker capsules are still classified as illegal, unapproved drugs by the FDA. Number 24. Glucomannan diet capsules. These were fiber pills made from the root of the konjac plant, and the selling point was that the fiber would swell up inside your stomach and make you feel full before you overate. Millions of Americans bought into it during the mid-1980s, picking up bottles at health food stores and ordering them through the mail. The problem was that the capsules did not always wait to reach the stomach before they started expanding. Some swelled in the esophagus, blocking the throat entirely. Reports came in of choking emergency room visits and at least one intestinal blockage that required surgery. The FDA seized shipments, issued warnings, and forced multiple glucomannan diet capsule brands off the market. In 1990, the FDA classified concentrated glucomannan capsules as an unapproved food additive, making it illegal to sell them in pill form in the United States. Any supplement manufacturer caught selling that concentrated capsule form today faces product seizure and criminal prosecution under federal law. The loose powder survived in food products, but the diet pill that could plug your throat like wet cement is a federal offense to sell. Number 23. Grapefruit diet pills. The grapefruit diet had been around since the 1930s, but in the 1980s, someone figured out how to sell it in a bottle. Bright yellow packaging lined drugstore shelves from coast to coast, and the marketing promised that citrus extract would melt away fat naturally. What the labels never made clear was that the active ingredient doing the real work was phenylpropanolamine, a stimulant also found in cold medicines. The grapefruit was window dressing. The PPA was what suppressed your appetite, and it was also what could cause a hemorrhagic stroke, especially in young women. When the FDA pulled PPA from the market in November 2000, every grapefruit diet pill that relied on it vanished overnight. The fruit was innocent. The chemical hiding behind it was not. Number 22. AIDS appetite suppressant candy. If you watched television in the early 1980s, you saw the commercials. A slim woman holding up a caramel-colored candy saying the brand name with a smile. AIDS. It came in chocolate, butterscotch, and peanut butter flavors, and the idea was that you ate a piece before meals to take the edge off your hunger. The original formula used benzocaine to numb the taste buds, but later versions added phenylpropanolamine, the same stimulant appetite suppressant found in Dexatrim and Accutrim. By 1982, AIDS was pulling in $35 million a year. Then the AIDS epidemic hit public awareness, and the name went from catchy to catastrophic. Sales dropped by more than half between 1985 and 1988. The company tried renaming it Diet AIDS, then AIDS Slim, but nothing could save the brand. It vanished from store shelves entirely by the early 1990s. But even if the name had somehow survived, the product itself could not have. In November 2000, the FDA pulled phenylpropanolamine from every over-the-counter drug on the American market after studies linked it to hemorrhagic strokes in young women. The ingredient that powered those later AIDS formulas is now prohibited by federal law in any over-the-counter product sold in the United States. Selling the candy today under any name with its original formula intact would be illegal before the first box left the factory. Number 21. Dream Away. This was the pill that promised you could lose weight in your sleep. Sold through mail-order catalogs and late-night television ads throughout the mid-1980s, Dream Away claimed its formula would burn fat while you slept. No exercise, no dieting, just take 2 capsules before bed and wake up thinner. The Federal Trade Commission investigated and found that the pills contained nothing more than a mild herbal diuretic. Any weight lost was water, and it came right back the next morning. The FTC filed a formal complaint. The FDA declared Dream Away an unapproved drug, and the manufacturer was ordered to stop making its claims. Selling it today would land you in front of a federal judge. Number 20. Clobenzorex. By the mid-1980s, a particular kind of diet pill had become one of the worst-kept secrets along the American-Mexican border. Clobenzorex, sold under the brand name Dinintel, was a small, white tablet prescribed freely by Mexican doctors and available in pharmacies across Tijuana, Juarez, and Nuevo Laredo without much scrutiny. Americans drove across the border by the thousands, bought a few bottles for a fraction of what a domestic diet clinic charged, and brought them home in grocery bags. What most of them did not know was that Clobenzorex is a prodrug. Once you swallow it, your liver converts it directly into amphetamine. Every Dinintel tablet was, in practical terms, an amphetamine pill with extra steps. The appetite suppression was real and powerful. So were the side effects: racing heartbeat, insomnia, anxiety, and a dependency that crept in quietly over weeks. The FDA has never approved Clobenzorex for any use in the United States. Importing it across the border is a federal offense, and customs agents at southern crossings have seized thousands of bottles over the decades. Today, Clobenzorex remains one of the most commonly confiscated illegal diet drugs in America. Number 19. Rainbow Pills. Now, this was not a single product you could buy at a drugstore. This was something a doctor made for you, right there in his office, and that is what made it so dangerous. Starting in the 1960s and running well into the 1980s, certain physicians across the United States ran what amounted to diet pill factories. A patient would walk in, step on a scale, and walk out 20 minutes later with a paper bag full of brightly colored capsules. Red ones, blue ones, yellow ones, green ones. Each color contained a different drug, and the combinations were staggering. A typical rainbow cocktail included an amphetamine to kill appetite, a thyroid hormone to speed up metabolism, a diuretic to flush water weight, and sometimes digitalis, a heart medication where the difference between a therapeutic dose and a lethal one is razor thin. Some doctors added a barbiturate to smooth out the jitters from the speed. Patients dropped 20 or 30 pounds in weeks, but the side effects matched the results: heart palpitations, tremors, insomnia lasting days, psychotic breaks. Some patients had heart attacks, some died on the examining table. The FDA cracked down hard in the late 1970s. Multiple doctors lost their licenses. Several faced criminal prosecution. One clinic in Texas was shut down after a patient died from cardiac arrest traced directly to the pill combination she had been given that morning. By the mid-1980s, the practice had been driven underground, and any physician caught mixing amphetamines, thyroid hormones, and digitalis into a weight loss cocktail today would face felony charges, the permanent loss of their medical license, and federal prosecution. The rainbow is gone and nobody in medicine misses it. Number 18. Over-the-counter thyroid extract. Before the 1980s were over, you could walk into a health food store and buy desiccated thyroid ground from pig thyroid glands without a prescription. The theory was straightforward. Thyroid hormones control metabolism. More thyroid means faster metabolism, means more calories burned. Bodybuilders used it. Dieters used it. Housewives who wanted to drop 10 pounds before beach season used it. But flooding your body with thyroid hormone when your thyroid is perfectly healthy can trigger heart palpitations, bone loss, heat intolerance, and in severe cases, a condition called thyroid storm, which can kill you. The FDA moved thyroid hormones to prescription-only status, and today, buying desiccated thyroid extract over the counter is illegal. And that bottle your neighbor used to keep in her kitchen cabinet would require a doctor's signature now. Number 17. Phenolphthalein laxatives. For millions of American women in the 1970s and 1980s, this was their diet pill, even if the box never called it one. Phenolphthalein was the active ingredient in the biggest laxative brands in the country: X-Lax, Phenamint, Correctol. Dieters knew that 1 or 2 tablets after dinner would move the number on the scale by morning, and a nightly dose became as routine as brushing their teeth. Weight loss clinics quietly recommended it. Magazine advice columns hinted at it. An entire generation of women treated phenolphthalein as the cheapest, most accessible diet aid on the pharmacy shelf. The weight loss was real, but it came from dehydration, not fat burning. The long-term damage was brutal. Chronic use led to electrolyte imbalances, kidney stress, and a colon that eventually could not function without chemical help. Then, in the late 1990s, researchers discovered that phenolphthalein was a potential carcinogen. The FDA banned it in 1999, and every laxative brand in America had to reformulate overnight. The chemical that an entire generation of dieters had been swallowing every evening was suddenly classified as too dangerous to sell. Number 16. Fen-Proper-X. If you lived anywhere near the southern border in the 1980s, you knew someone who crossed into Mexico and came back with diet pills. The most common one was Fen-Proper-X, a stimulant appetite suppressant prescribed freely in Latin American pharmacies but never approved by the FDA. The pills were cheap, they worked fast, and word of mouth turned them into one of the most popular underground diet aids in the American Southwest. Travelers brought them back in their luggage. Friends handed them out at work. What most people did not realize was that Fen-Proper-X converts directly into amphetamine once it enters the body. Every capsule was, in pharmacological terms, an amphetamine pill with an extra step. The FDA never approved Fen-Proper-X for any use in the United States, and throughout the 1990s and 2000s, federal agents intercepted shipments at the border over and over again. The agency maintains an active import alert to this day, authorizing customs officers to detain any product containing the substance on site. Selling Fen-Proper-X in the United States is a federal crime. Importing it is a federal crime. The pills that once came home in a suitcase from Tijuana now carry the same legal consequences as smuggling any other unapproved controlled substance across an international border. Number 15. Benzedrine. Long before they were called diet pills, people called them bennies. Benzedrine was the brand name for amphetamine sulfate, introduced by Smith, Kline, and French in 1933 as a nasal inhaler for congestion. It did not take long for people to discover that the drug inside the inhaler killed hunger and boosted energy. By the 1950s, doctors were prescribing Benzedrine tablets for weight loss, and the pills remained in circulation well into the 1980s. Some people skipped the prescription entirely and cracked open old inhalers to swallow the amphetamine-soaked strip inside. Benzedrine as a product is gone, and amphetamine is now a Schedule II controlled substance. Possessing it today without a valid prescription is a federal crime that can put you in prison. Number 14. Gamma-hydroxybutyrate diet capsules. In the late 1980s, a compound called GHB started appearing on the shelves of health food stores and behind the counters of gyms across the country. The bottles had clean labels: fat burner, growth hormone booster, natural sleep aid. You could buy a bottle right next to the whey protein and the B vitamins, no questions asked. Bodybuilders used it after workouts. Dieters took a dose before bed, believing it would burn fat while they slept by stimulating growth hormone release. The capsules were cheap, they were legal, and they looked no different from any other supplement on the rack. The problem was that GHB is a powerful central nervous system depressant, and the gap between a dose that makes you drowsy and a dose that shuts down your breathing is almost nothing. Emergency rooms across the country started seeing patients who had taken a few capsules and stopped breathing. Others had violent seizures. Some mixed GHB with alcohol and never regained consciousness. By 1990, the reports had stacked up high enough for the FDA to act. The agency declared GHB an unsafe food additive and ordered every bottle pulled from the shelves. But the story did not end there. Through the 1990s, GHB moved underground, resurfacing as a club drug and, more notoriously, as a date rape drug slipped into drinks at bars and parties. In 2000, Congress responded by passing the Hillary J. Farias and Samantha Reed Date Rape Drug Prohibition Act, placing GHB on the Schedule I controlled substances list alongside heroin and LSD. Today, possessing it without a valid prescription for the sole approved medical use, a narcolepsy treatment called Xyrem, is a federal crime punishable by up to 20 years in prison. The supplement that health food store owners once stocked between the fish oil and the creatine now sits in the same legal category as the most heavily restricted drugs in the country. Number 13. Calban 3000. In the late 1980s, television infomercials introduced America to a pill that promised to absorb the calories from your food before your body could. The active ingredient was guar gum, a thickening agent used in processed foods. Inside a capsule, the idea was that the guar gum would swell in your stomach and form a gel that trapped calories. The reality was worse than the science. The guar gum did not always reach the stomach before it started expanding. In some cases, capsules swelled to 20 times their original size in the esophagus, blocking the throat or lodging in the intestines. The FDA received reports of choking, hospitalizations, emergency surgeries, and at least one death directly linked to the product. Calban 3000 was banned. Import alerts were issued. The manufacturer was shut down. It stands as one of the clearest examples of a diet pill doing the opposite of what it promised. Number 12. Biphetamine. If you spent any time around diet clinics or college campuses in the late 1970s and early 1980s, you heard the street name before you ever saw the prescription label: Black Beauties. The capsules were sleek, dark, and unmistakable, and they contained a potent combination of amphetamine and dextroamphetamine designed to suppress appetite and accelerate metabolism. Biphetamine came in two strengths. The lower dose, biphetamine 12.5, was handed out by diet doctors in strip mall clinics across the Sun Belt, the kind of doctors who weighed you, wrote a script, and sent you on your way in under 10 minutes. The higher dose, biphetamine 20, was the one that earned the reputation. One capsule in the morning and you could skip meals all day without thinking about food. Your heart raced, your hands trembled, and your mind buzzed with a sharp chemical focus that made everything feel productive and urgent. The weight came off fast, often 20 or 30 pounds in a couple of months. But the crash was brutal. When the capsule wore off, the exhaustion and hunger hit like a wall, and the only thing that made it stop was another capsule. People who started on biphetamine for a 10-pound weight loss goal found themselves taking double and triple doses within weeks, crushing the capsules and snorting the powder for a faster hit. By the mid-1980s, the DEA reclassified amphetamine combinations under stricter Schedule II controls, and biphetamine quietly disappeared from pharmacy shelves. The manufacturer stopped producing it rather than meet the new federal monitoring requirements. Today, possessing or selling biphetamine capsules is a federal crime. The combination of amphetamine salts it contained still exists in medications like Adderall, but under levels of regulation and prescription oversight that would have been unrecognizable to the diet doctors who once handed out black beauties by the handful. Number 11. Accutrim. If Dexatrim was the king of the 1980s diet pill aisle, Accutrim was the queen. Manufactured by Ciba-Geigy, one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world, Accutrim was marketed as a more refined alternative to its competitor. The advertising was polished, the packaging looked clinical, and the active ingredient was exactly the same: phenylpropanolamine, PPA. The same stimulant, the same appetite-suppressing mechanism, the same risk of stroke. For most of the 1980s and 1990s, Accutrim and Dexatrim sat side by side on drugstore shelves, competing for the same bathroom cabinets. When the FDA pulled PPA in November 2000, Accutrim did not bother to reformulate. The brand simply vanished. Today, you will not find Accutrim anywhere. The chemical that made it work is now prohibited from any over-the-counter product in the United States. Number 10. Dexatrim. This was the one. If you were alive in the 1980s, you saw the ads. A smiling woman in a leotard, stepping on a scale, holding up a box of Dexatrim like it was the answer to every resolution she had ever made. At its peak, Dexatrim was a $100 million a year product, the best-selling over-the-counter diet pill in the country. It sat in bathroom cabinets from Maine to California. The active ingredient was phenylpropanolamine, and for years the FDA considered it safe. Then a Yale University study found that PPA significantly increased the risk of hemorrhagic stroke, particularly in women between 18 and 49, the exact group buying Dexatrim by the case. In November 2000, the FDA issued a public health advisory, and PPA was pulled from every over-the-counter product in the country. Dexatrim reformulated without it, but the damage was done. The original formula, the one your mother kept next to the coffee maker, is gone because it had to be. In 2005, the FDA formally classified phenylpropanolamine as a substance that is not generally recognized as safe, and today selling the original Dexatrim formula with PPA would be a federal crime. Number 9. Mazindol. Sold under the brand name Sanarex, Mazindol was a Schedule IV stimulant approved by the FDA in 1973 for short-term weight management. It worked differently from amphetamines, blocking the reuptake of norepinephrine rather than flooding the brain with dopamine, and that distinction made doctors more comfortable writing prescriptions. Throughout the 1980s, Sanarex was one of the most commonly prescribed diet drugs in America. The side effects told a different story. Patients reported heart palpitations, severe insomnia, dizziness, and in rare cases, psychotic episodes. As newer drugs appeared, Mazindol fell out of favor, and the manufacturer pulled Sanarex from the American market. Today, Mazindol is unavailable for prescription in this country, and importing it carries the same legal weight as importing any other controlled substance without authorization. Number 8. Preludin. The chemical name was phenmetrazine, and in the 1960s and 1970s, it was one of the most popular prescription diet pills in the world. Elvis Presley was a known user. The Beatles took it during their marathon club sets in Hamburg. Housewives took it to stay thin. Truck drivers took it to stay awake on long hauls. Preludin suppressed appetite with brutal efficiency, and it was also wildly addictive. Tolerance built quickly, pushing patients to higher and higher doses just to feel the same effect. Reports of abuse, dependence, and overdose piled up through the 1970s, and by the mid-1980s, the FDA pulled it from the market. In most of Europe, it followed shortly after. Today, phenmetrazine is a Schedule II controlled substance, and possessing it without a valid prescription is a criminal offense. Number 7. Clenbuterol. This one was never approved for human use in the United States. Not in the 1980s. Not now. Not ever. Clenbuterol is a bronchodilator designed for horses and cattle. In livestock, it promotes lean muscle growth, which is exactly why bodybuilders and dieters started using it. By the mid-1980s, clenbuterol had found a following in American gyms. People got it through veterinary supply catalogs, from overseas pharmacies, or from the same sources selling anabolic steroids out of locker rooms. The drug stimulates beta-2 receptors, raising the metabolic rate and pushing the body to burn fat. It works. It also causes tremors, headaches, dangerously elevated heart rate, and in severe cases, sudden cardiac failure. The FDA has issued repeated import alerts on clenbuterol, and customs officers seize shipments at the border regularly. Selling it for human consumption in this country is a federal crime. Number 6. Fenfluramine. Sold under the brand name Pondamine, fenfluramine was approved by the FDA in 1973 and quietly prescribed throughout the 1980s as a solo appetite suppressant. Unlike amphetamines, it worked by boosting serotonin levels in the brain, creating a sense of fullness without the jittery rush of a stimulant. Doctors liked it because patients did not seem to get hooked. Patients liked it because it worked. For nearly 2 decades, fenfluramine hummed along as a reliable, unremarkable prescription. Then someone had the idea to combine it with phentermine, and that combination would become the subject of the next item on this list. Fenfluramine on its own was pulled from the market in September 1997 after researchers linked it to potentially fatal heart valve damage and a rare lung condition called pulmonary hypertension. The drug that had seemed so safe was quietly rewriting the structure of the human heart. Number 5. Fen-phen. This is where fenfluramine became a household word. In the late 1980s, a researcher at the University of Rochester published a study showing that combining fenfluramine with phentermine produced dramatic results. By the early 1990s, doctors across the country were writing the combination, and by 1996, an estimated 6 million Americans were taking it. Diet clinics opened in every city. Pills were dispensed after 5-minute consultations. The weight melted off, and patients were overjoyed. Then the cardiac reports started arriving. Fenfluramine was damaging heart valves. Up to a third of fen-phen users showed valve abnormalities on echocardiograms, including patients who felt perfectly fine. Some developed primary pulmonary hypertension, a rare and often fatal condition. In September 1997, the FDA withdrew fenfluramine. The lawsuits that followed reached over $13 billion in settlements, one of the largest in pharmaceutical history. The fen-phen combination cannot be legally prescribed today, and the name remains a warning in every pharmacology textbook in the country. Number 4. Dexamyl. Imagine a single capsule that contains both a powerful stimulant and a sedative. That was Dexamyl. The formula combined dextroamphetamine with amobarbital, a barbiturate. The amphetamine would suppress appetite and boost energy. The barbiturate would take the edge off the jitters. Doctors prescribed Dexamyl for depression, anxiety, premenstrual tension, and weight loss, and in the 1960s, it was one of the most commonly dispensed medications in the country. In Britain, the blue tablets earned the nickname Purple Hearts. The combination was a pharmacological contradiction, pushing you up and pulling you down at the same time, and the addiction potential was enormous. Dexamyl was discontinued by the late 1970s, but supplies kept circulating into the early 1980s. Today, both dextroamphetamine and amobarbital are classified as Schedule II controlled substances under federal law. Manufacturing or selling an unregulated combination capsule containing both drugs for weight loss is a federal crime. Number 3. Obitrol. In the 1960s and 1970s, a doctor could hand you a small round tablet called Obitrol and tell you it would help you lose weight. What the doctor might not have mentioned was that the tablet contained 4 different amphetamine salts, including methamphetamine. Obitrol was one of the most freely prescribed diet pills in America. Housewives took it to shed postpartum weight. Office workers took it to stay thin and alert through long shifts. The combination hit hard. Your appetite vanished, your energy surged, and the pounds dropped fast. The problem was stopping. Obitrol was ferociously addictive. Patients who tried to quit found themselves exhausted, depressed, and binge eating within days. By the early 1980s, the DEA had tightened controls on amphetamine prescribing, and Obitrol's manufacturer eventually reformulated the pill, removing the methamphetamine entirely. That cleaned-up version became the foundation for a drug you might recognize: Adderall. But the original Obitrol, the one with methamphetamine baked right into it, is gone. Today, manufacturing a diet pill that contains methamphetamine is a federal crime, punishable by years in prison. Number 2. Ephedra. Walk into any health food store in the mid-1980s, and somewhere between the wheat germ and the vitamin C tablets, you would find bottles of capsules made from a plant called ma huang. That plant contains ephedrine, a stimulant that raises heart rate, opens the airways, and kills appetite. By the 1990s, ephedra had grown into a multi-billion-dollar supplement industry. Brand names like Metabolife, 356, Xenadrine, and Stacker too filled the shelves of gas stations, gyms, and vitamin shops. The pills worked, the weight came off, and then people started dying. The FDA received more than 18,000 adverse event reports connected to ephedra, including heart attacks, strokes, and seizures. In February 2003, Baltimore Orioles pitcher Steve Beckler collapsed during spring training and died. Ephedra was found in his system. In April 2004, the FDA banned every dietary supplement containing ephedra, the first supplement ever banned under federal law. Selling one today is a federal crime. Number 1. Dinitrophenol DNP. In the 1980s, capsules filled with a bright yellow industrial powder circulated through underground bodybuilding networks and back-alley diet clinics across America. The powder was 2,4-dinitrophenol, a chemical used in manufacturing dyes, wood preservatives, and explosives, repurposed as one of the most dangerous diet pills ever swallowed. Stanford University researchers had discovered its weight loss properties in the 1930s, and for a brief window it was sold openly as a diet aid. The FDA banned it for human consumption in 1938 after reports of cataracts, severe skin reactions, and deaths. But the capsules never stopped moving. Throughout the 1980s, people bought DNP from underground suppliers who measured doses from industrial-grade powder with no quality control and no margin for error. The mechanism is terrifying in its simplicity. DNP disrupts the process your cells use to convert food into energy. Instead of producing usable fuel, your mitochondria release that energy as raw heat. Your body temperature climbs, your metabolism races, fat burns at an extraordinary rate, and if you take too much, there is no antidote. No emergency procedure. Your body keeps heating until your organs shut down. People still die from DNP today. Selling, distributing, or marketing DNP capsules for human consumption is a federal crime. It remains one of the most dangerous substances ever sold for weight loss, a chemical that strips fat by cooking you from the inside out, and there is nothing any doctor in any emergency room can do once it takes hold. Every one of these pills was sold with a promise: lose weight fast, look better, feel better about yourself. And millions of Americans believed it because the pills were right there on the shelf, at the drugstore, in the doctor's office, in the pages of every magazine in the country. If you remember any of these, drop a comment and tell us which one you or someone in your family took. Hit like if this brought something back, share it with someone who lived through the 1980s, and please subscribe to keep these stories alive.